Happy holidays. Welcome to our December edition of Local Image and our final episode for 2013. We've had a great year covering stories about the people, places, and events found here in the Northeast suburbs, and it's fitting that on today's show, several of our favorite local folks will be featured. And we begin with an interview with one of my favorite women in the world, Helen Bowers. We introduced you to Helen 10 years ago after she was featured in a documentary about growing up in an orphanage in Owatonna. She's been on the show a few times since then, each time sharing more about her incredible life story. I caught up with Helen again recently for this Local Image interview. What I want to find out, Helen, is you just recently celebrated your 91st birthday and completed your third book. How does that make you feel to be an author at 91?
Old. It makes me feel that my life was worth telling about, even right up to the end, because this book starts when I told Eddie we have to move, and he said, "No, I haven't counted all the nails in." He said, "Can't move yet." And I said, "Yes, we have to."
Well, let's remind folks about your first book, which is My Light at the End of the Tunnel, which basically tells your life story, having grown up in an orphanage in southern Minnesota, and goes on from there. Just give us some highlights of your life. Remind us about your story.
It goes on from the orphanage. It goes on to when I married my first husband, who was really brutal. And I had 4 children. I've been asked 100 times, why did you live with him? Well, I had no place to go. I had no parents. And so I had to live with them. And besides, I was used to being a maid. I was used to being told what to do, and I really didn't have too much of a sense of my own well-being, because that's taken away from you when you go to the orphanage. Mm-hmm. So I lived with him for 25 years, and then I divorced. And then I waited. I went with Eddie 20 years.
There's such a great story. Eddie now has passed a few years ago, and we miss him greatly. He was the light at the end of your tunnel from all those years of being what you call in the darkness. He was the light. And so is Eddie still with you? Do you feel it?
I wake up at night and I can just feel him, because we were so close, and we always said when we go hand in hand. But God has other plans, so I'll wait my turn.
Yeah.
But no, Eddie was definitely he taught me how to be a lady, and that I was a lady, and that I was worth something. And so then when Faye came along,
which is your daughter-in-law,
and said, we've got to put this on paper. And I thought, I'll never write a book. And she's so determined, but she could see a good book.
You've been back to the orphanage several times. Why do you go back? I mean, now it doesn't exist as an orphanage anymore. It's a museum.
No, but it's a museum. And I take my children back, I take my grandchildren back. I want them to know where I was raised and that there was a place. I mean, 10,000 children, all unwanted, unloved, unneeded, and they were all walked through those doors. And they can't imagine 300 kids in a dining room with silence.
Yes.
Never.
Yeah, that's how strict it was there.
Oh, yes.
But you actually got along there for
I loved it. I always said I didn't know there was a depression. I had 3 meals a day. I had a clean bed to sleep in, and I was taught how to work.
Right.
And I went to school, and you got your face slapped many a time, but I think
it's what you knew.
Right.
Yeah. And then this this new edition of the book, for me, because I read the first one, I read this one as well, lots more information, kind of filling in some of those missing parts, much more details about some of the things you went through, including more details about your time when you experienced a Great Depression personally.
Oh, yes.
And tell folks what you had to go through.
Well, I was in the 8th floor at Miller Hospital in the mental, and I went through many electric shocks, and that's when my hair turned white.
Yeah.
It was dark when I went in there. I was in there for 4 months, and I came out and I had white hair.
And they did that because they felt at the time that maybe getting rid of some of those early childhood memories would help you to do better.
Right. I couldn't say orphanage and not cry. And they wanted me to forget that part, forget the bad part of my life, and see if I couldn't move on.
And you found through writing this book that you actually did lose about 4 years of your memory that is gone forever.
Yeah, didn't know that until Faye started figuring up the years, and she said, hey, you lost some.
Yeah.
And I think I'll always remember, I had never gone back to get my diploma. And she wrote to the superintendent of schools, said, my mother-in-law graduated from Central, never went back to get her diploma. Send him a copy of my book. And I got my diploma in the frame.
Oh my goodness, it's awesome. And also, I mean, what's so great about you, Helen, is through all these hardships in your life, you always found a way to rise above. You attribute a lot of that to having your kids there, but you did that. The list goes on of how you have kind of risen to every occasion. You volunteered a lot, and you were even, right when you moved here to Hazel Ridge, you were just telling me you were president for 6 years and you had to give the throne up now.
Right. I just decided I've had it long enough. But I did everything for my children. That was my life because I had no other life.
Right.
And then when I got my children graduated and such, I got into working with abused women. And of course, that was the heart of my book.
Yes, exactly.
To help these women.
There's so much in your books that really is a lesson or a help to so many in different ways, especially women who have been abused, and so your life has had some great meaning.
Oh yes.
You went through a lot,
right.
But you are making a difference.
But I always figured I had to have that happen to make me the person that I am.
And you're a
and
great
to
gal.
be compassionate for other people and realize that if he hits you once, he'll hit you twice. Get out of it.
Right.
And people can't believe that will happen.
Yeah.
But now there's help.
There wasn't so much then.
No.
Well, it's a great information that everyone needs to hear, and there's so much more in your books, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know you over the years and see how you've grown.
It's been wonderful. I don't. I've never been a celebrity, you have made me one.
Oh no, you've been a celebrity. You just didn't know it.
And thank you for being my friend.
Oh my goodness, Helen, we love you. All right, thanks so much. Helen is a lovely lady and an inspiration to me and so many who know and love her. Now, another one of our local favorites is Keith Warner. Keith has been involved with us for over 10 years, and it all started with our coverage of the White Bear Lake Relay for Life, an incredible annual event that Keith and his wife Patty founded almost 20 years ago. Keith was recently honored at a relay-related event held at Jimmy's in Vadnais Heights. Keith, a multiple cancer survivor himself, is facing yet another cancer battle. But as you will see in this Local Image segment, Keith is not alone in his fight.
We're celebrating a beautiful, beautiful last 20 years of Keith Warner's work with Relay for Life and the American Cancer Society, but more directly than that, with the tremendous advocacy and interventions that Keith has done in people's lives to get them the attention, the care, the comfort that they need when they find that they have cancer. And the real issue now has become that Keith was recently diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer himself, and it's, I think, as I understand it, glioblastoma. It's fairly aggressive. And so we're wanting to find a way, while Keith is comfortable still being able to be up for this long and talk to this many people, to say thank you, to celebrate him, to celebrate the cancer cause, and frankly, to leverage ourselves a little bit into next year and keep rolling with what Keith has started so beautifully.
What an amazing turnout for our dear friends Keith and Patty Warner. Let's hear for them really quick.
We'd like Keith to come into the limelight and receive some attention. But as far as Keith is concerned, he wants the limelight, the attention, to be on the hope and the dream, and not on Keith and Patty.
And 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And after I'd seen the doctors and done all those things, my next call was to Keith. And Keith gave me advice, he gave me encouragement, he gave me needed information, he gave me prayers. And he never failed to ask me how I was doing as I went through the process. In my official capacity, I would like to announce that tomorrow, November 25th, 2013, will be Keith Warner Day in White Bear Lake, and a proclamation will be coming.
So on behalf of the American Cancer Society Relay for Life movement, we, the Society's Relay for Life volunteers and staff, would like to present this gift to Keith Warner in recognition of all his efforts to finish the fight. Relay's true greatness is its volunteers, and you, Keith, are one of the greatest. Thank you for being our friend and for inspiring us to work a little harder every day to finish the fight. So Keith, why don't you come on up?
It's my vocal cords that have been affected. And Patty told me not to stand too long and not to talk too much. As usual, I always listen to her. And to Patty, thanks for being my wife and loving me so much. Funny how things work out when you begin as high school sweethearts. So I said to her, I showed her the film Relay for Life, and I said, can we do this in White Bear Lake area? She said, if you get the right volunteers, and we have. You know, don't be afraid to ask. If a friend gets diagnosed with cancer, step forward for him and reach out, whether it's at your church or your business or your neighbors.
I encourage you to join with us in sending positive energy, thoughts, and prayers to Keith Warner as he continues to not give up in his fight to beat brain cancer. He is an inspiration to all who meet him, and I'm truly honored to call him my friend. Now, let's switch gears altogether and take you to a restaurant and bar in White Bear Lake where the burgers made a Twin Cities top 20 list, and the automobile and racing enthusiastic owners are revved up and ready to serve you their tasty meals made from scratch.
And the soup of the day today is cream of chicken and wild rice. Well, the name of the restaurant is Gearheads Saloon and Grill. We have a decor right here we feel that is comfortable for the gearheads, the car enthusiasts around the area right here.
You know, and we wanted to do a car theme, but not overly done, you know, but we wanted to be nice or homely, where people can come in and sit down and relax and have a good time.
Like I tell people, you don't distinguish yourself in this business by selling other people's processed prepared foods. So we try to cook as much from scratch and fresh as possible. The meatloaf is a scratch recipe. The pulled pork sandwiches, we roast whole blade roast here and season them with our rub. Our fries are fresh cut fries, and we make our own onion rings here also.
Well, the ribs are my favorite. You know, I've been working on them for years, and then I cooked them at different periods. I started with 2 hours. I ended up at 6 hours, and then put my homemade barbecue sauce on there, and then cook them for another 2 hours. So they're nice and tender.
We've got a nice place for everybody to sit down, both for the families and for the singles and for the couples over on the other side there. Mike and I have been friends for 20 years now. This is something that it's been his vision too. He always wanted to open his own place.
I'm retired now, but this is my job again. Retired to open a restaurant. People think I'm nuts, but.
You want any crackers with that chili too, sir? When we had the opportunity last year, we took over the space in the middle of November, so we've been here a year now.
And we've been climbing. We've been gaining every month. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are coming in.
Overall, it's been a good experience. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
We both love what we're doing. You know, it's really hard to do, but we love making it happen every day.
I want to be like the neighborhood Cheers. I want to be the place where everybody wants to come in and relax, have a beer and a great burger, and have a nice time.
The food at Gearheads is delicious, and Bob and Mike are simply the best kind of owners you'd ever want to meet. We wish them all the best in this new venture. Now, speaking of new ventures, my next guests undertook their venture for the first time last spring, and now they're planning to do it all over again in 2014. It's called TEDx Mahtomedi, and here to tell us more about it are Bill Coleman and Debbie Johnson-Hill. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So this is going to be the second adventure of TEDx Mahtomedi, but let's start with understanding what is TEDx, because this is kind of a national movement of sorts.
It's an international organization.
International, okay.
And they have big signature events a couple times a year around the world, bringing global leaders, thought leaders together, large crowds, big extravaganza kind of things. The TEDx events are locally organized in the spirit of TED, which is technology, entertainment, and design is what TED stands for. And so last year we pulled together TEDx Mahtomedi for the first time, and so successful we're going to do it again.
And I understand, Debbie, that's how you kind of came to be here today, is that you were one of the presenters last year. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be involved in it and why.
I actually saw an ad in the paper was how they were looking for presenters, and you had to write a proposal of what your idea was that you wanted to present at TEDx, and so I presented the proposal and auditioned and was chosen as one of the presenters.
Wow, you have to audition even. So this is big stuff here. So what kinds of presentations, give us a sense of what this was all about last year anyway.
Well, last year our theme was called
What If?
What If,
excuse me, thank you. And kind of looking at what are the possibilities. And we had some themes around the changing demographics in our community, and then the changing physical environment were our two sub-themes. And so we talked about lake levels in White Bear Lake. Debbie talked about her local food, chickens, eggs, and so on. And we had just an incredible turnout. About 100 people at our event last year.
What was the goal of it? I mean, what are you hoping to walk away with when it was all said and done this past spring?
Well, I think the critical piece for me to be involved was to just have some good community conversations that weren't necessarily involved with politics or that were going to be confrontational.
Right.
There's really an idea to how do we get people together to talk about the future of our community.
What were some of the things that you presented last year? I mean, what was kind of the crux of your specific presentation?
The title was Farm Fresh 365, and the idea that I wanted to present to the community was what if our community had access to an online farmers market 365 days a year, because people love farmers market, but then it ends. So where could we continue to get local food when the farmers markets are done, and supporting local farmers in our community? So
Very cool.
Yeah.
What did you take away from it when it was all done?
What I loved about it was not presenting. That was a little nerve-wracking, but the interaction with the audience. So you would present whatever your topic was, and then we had a lunch break. So people could come up and talk to you about what you presented. They gave feedback, and then a dialogue started. And I would continue to get emails after the TEDx. People wanted to give input or find out how my proposal was going along. So it's just a continuing conversation. Yeah.
So what do people need to know about this one? I believe it's in March of 2014. What should people know?
We're very interested in hearing about people's ideas for presenting. And we think there's a lot of great people out there looking to the future. And our theme this year is What's Next? And we're hoping to see what ideas people come up with. And there's a certain number of critical issues that we're dealing with, whether it's local foods or schools or healthcare, just community life, redevelopment kind of things. And it just is nice to be able, anyone can have any kind of event they want, but when you call it a TED event or a TEDx event, it certainly brings the level of excitement up and credibility.
Sure.
And we just had a great audience last year. It was very interactive and dynamic, and we collected people's thoughts. We had what if thought bubbles, and then people contributed what if this or what if that. And we've seen forward movement on websites for local foods. We've seen consideration by the school board about kind of the mission statement of the school district, so that's more inclusive.
Right.
Not just for kind of college-bound kids. Mahtomedi
So
School District, many kids go to college, that's great, but there's some kids where that's just not the right path, but they need to be successful too.
So let's get the date out there again is March
29th.
29th at Century College. And before that, people can submit their proposals by going to TEDx Mahtomedi
.com. And we're looking for those proposals by mid-December.
Okay, so we need to get on that.
And important to remember too that we had high school students that spoke last year all the way to senior citizens, so there is no age requirement. And when the event happens, are we still limited to 100 folks in the audience? So get your tickets early.
Oh my goodness. So there are, like you said, kind of a whole list of rules to follow, but it's working. And we're very excited for you guys to do that again this year, and we hope to hear some of the success from it down the road. So good luck with the event.
Thank you.
As we celebrate the season and look to say farewell to 2013, it's only fitting that we reconnect with one of our favorite Christmas companions. Our photographer-editor Scott Jensen's pal, Larry, is back at it with more holiday folly in this local image package.
Happy holidays, everybody. That was a nice intro, Judy. Appreciate that. Check this out. My sister is one of the best shoppers of all time, and she's going to let you in on some holiday gift suggestions. Introducing my sister Francine.
Christmas time can be kind of expensive. I've got a couple ideas for gifts. I usually only buy one gift a year. This year, these little puppies. The one gift you buy, you usually want to keep. I had to last year. It has a bell. I always buy in a large. I usually want them to fit. You can stuff Kleenexes in if someone has smaller feet. This is where the fun begins. I often use household items for a little extra. Have you ever had ants? Number 2, old bowling ball. Now, if you don't have a bowling ball or a bowling ball bag, I'm sure your neighbor does. Ask. He'll be thankful to get rid of it. Now, this one, my holes are a little far apart, so they don't quite fit for my hand. No big deal. Use both hands, roll it down the aisle. Better control, better focus. Sure to get a couple pins down. I don't usually strike them, but who does? Now, a cup. Perfect gift. You don't only have to drink cocoa out of this guy. Put carrots in it, pickles, nails, screws, toothbrushes, pens, highlighters with little erasers connected. This guy you see in the front yard of most houses. Not at my house. I brought her in. I named her Alice. Now often I like to shift her around. Last week at book club I put veggie dip right in the center. One great idea, just to surprise people, is to wrap your gift in something big. Do you think I would give a DVD player out for Christmas? I don't think so. I usually wrap socks, you know, put a lot of those stuffers, those little fiberglass things that you can pack stuff with, pack it up tight, they open it up with lots of excitement and find something different. It's a shocker, but it'll always make me smile. Last but not least, lampshade. We always have extra lampshades, right? Well, again, you can use it for other things. As a decor on your head, round your arm. You could actually hot glue it to the ceiling. Decorative item. Creativity is what you need to focus on at Christmas. Re-gifting and using household items is a wonderful way to celebrate the holiday. Go get them, guys. Sit down, buckle up, and enjoy your Christmas. Feliz Navidad.
Well, that's all the time we have for this, our final month of 2013. We really appreciate you watching the show this past year, and we hope you can join us for more great local stories in the new year. Until then, happy holidays from all of us here at TV19. I'm Judy Skyvoss, and I do thank you for watching Local Image.